Hey guys, Judd West here with FlowPro Solutions. I wanted to touch base with you guys about the 4th generation FlowPro that just came out yesterday. It involves several changes that ultimately came from you guys. So we appreciate your support. We appreciate all of the comments given over the last 3 years, the improvements suggested, and just about every major change came from contractors like you. So thank you, and let's get started. The first change I want to talk about is we added a fuse holder, a 5-amp fuse holder, between the on-off switch and the battery. What that does, it eliminates any possibility of a wire getting cut and shorting out, creating a melted PC board or wires, causing severe damage to the board. If it happens, all we'll have to do is replace this cable and the fuse. So we think it's a good change. We've only had a few of these that had a problem where the contractor routed the wire under hose reels or around tight corners of metal, and it cut, shorting it out. So we have eliminated that issue and think it's a good change. Another change includes labeling all of the connectors and even the wires with numbers to match the connectors. So if there is an issue in the field, or if you need to change something out, it's a real simple identification when we're on the phone, so we can talk to each other and understand exactly what we're talking about. We think this is a good change, and it'll simplify field repairs and any kind of maintenance we need. The next change includes removing the connectors from all of the cables. So there's no external cables now. All the connections are inside the actuator or the control box, other than the battery, which this cable connects directly to the battery. It's a white wire for positive, black wire for negative. And again, there's no connectors to get damaged or wet. So we've eliminated any potential for a shorting failure due to that. Another change is the Keyhole Protector. This is for the manual override, and there is a potential of water intrusion here, so we wanted to cover that up. And it's a simple cap that goes in there and stays there until you need to do any kind of override. We touched on this earlier, but we have the 12-foot cable extending from the actuator going into the box through a cable gland that is color-coded, so it has 3, a red, a green, and a black wire. You can simply disconnect those, unscrew this, pull the wire out. Now you have the ability to route the wire through holes or around equipment and then plug it back up. You can also use it to shorten your cable. If the 12-foot is too long, you only need 6 feet. You can cut the cable, strip it back, route it in, and do the same thing. So this is a good feature. One of the most requested changes was to have the light blink on mix as opposed to rinse. Even though the feedback function lets you know where you are, people still wanted to have the light as a backup. So now when we press the mix button, the light comes on, actuator rotates to the closed position, forcing water through the injector to pull chemical. Another heavily requested change was to have the control box default to the rinse cycle when you powered it off. This was about a 50-50 request. Half the people wanted it to default to mix, the other half wanted it to default to rinse. So I went with a happy median. Right now we're in the rinse cycle, and when you power it off, it stays there. And when you power it back on, it stays there in the rinse cycle. However, if you are in the if you're in the mix cycle and you power it off, it will stay in the mix cycle. So whatever position you're in when you turn the power off, that's where it will stay. However, when you turn it back on, it defaults to the rinse cycle. So whenever you turn the machine on, if it's in the rinse cycle, it will stay there. If it's in the mix cycle, it will default and turn to the rinse cycle. The last change we're going to talk about is something we've been doing for approximately 4 months now. But when your ball valve wears out and begins to leak or whatever, it's real simple. You undo these 4 screws, which I've already done, and then you simply, and I'll try to do this one-handed, pull the ball valve out and then just replace it with the new ball valve and just put it in and reconnect it. Let me put it in there straight and then reconnect it, and you're ready to go.